Hi, this is Brent Feldman, and we are back with another episode of Mix and Matchbox. Today, we are joined by Jessica Embree. She is the creative director at Tulip Media. Hi, Jessica. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Brett?
Oh, I'm doing very well. Very, very good to be chatting with you today, and looking forward to jumping into the questions. So, yeah, I'll start if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I guess, just really simply, like right off the bat, before you began your journey at Tulip Media, you were a social media coordinator. The glamorous title of social media coordinator, but how do you think that sort of role, that foundational role, how do you think that informed, like, how you got into Tulip Media? And also, I would just love to know if there's a story behind the name too.
Well, social media has changed quite a bit in the last 10 years since I was in that role as social media coordinator, but I was fresh out of university. So it was my first, adult job. And what it allowed me to do was take what I learned in university and apply it to an actual business scenario. And I went in there with a fresh perspective. I knew how to do socials, but it allowed me to build up my skill set. So I learned how to do design. I learned how to do WordPress. So really, it was a like almost a prologue to the next chapter of my career, which was Tulip Media Group. And that name comes from our founder and CEO, Andy Biting. His family's from the Netherlands.
Ah.
And it's funny, we have a saying at Tulip is become the red tulip in the sea of yellow. And if anybody knows our founder and CEO, Andy, he likes to walk around with a tulip jacket at trade shows and presentations. So that's how he's kind of known.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. That has to be very identifiable on a trade show floor.
Yeah, it's very brandy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And wow, the Netherlands, just what a beautiful place too.
Yeah.
Great, great. Well, you're an Amazon bestseller, which is a pretty cool title to have. Congratulations. And also you wrote the book along with, I guess, Andy, that was double sales, zero salespeople. And definitely I know there's subtitle and stuff associated with that, but it's also kind of a little bit part of the question, which is a way for, optimizing your sales and marketing. And let me know if I'm getting this term right. Smarketing?
Yeah, smart marketing or sales and marketing together.
Awesome.
Um, yeah.
But what's like a core tenet of that strategy of smarketing?
The way we look at it at Tulip Media Group, and it's funny, we wrote this book because we realized at Tulip we had a problem ourselves, and which was our cost of acquisition was $40,000 per client partner. And we realized one day that's just crazy. We can't sustain our business this way. So overnight we changed our sales and marketing strategy, and within 3 months we got our cost of acquisition down from 40,000 down to 4,000. And the way we did that was smart marketing. And we find with businesses and even ourselves, our marketing and sales team weren't communicating properly. Marketing was bringing in all these leads using this messaging, and then sales was taking over those leads and using different messaging. So your conversion rate was going down. And our book really entails what we did, our kind of our blueprint of what Tulip did to get that cost of acquisition down significantly.
Awesome. Well, that is great. And everybody could use, whittling down their cost of acquisition on clients. So that sounds incredibly helpful. So, I know part of that, sort of overall, the books, like, sort of like, I guess position, and especially as like, let's say that you're not relying on as many salespeople, but it's, looking at inbound as, a way to sort of like, get those leads, get those potential clients. But, is it okay to rely on solely inbound growth for a long time? Or is there a part where you'd kind of like transition? You're like, oh, I do need sales help. I do need additional sort of resources. Or, just how long is that period of time really?
I think it depends on every business, whether you're B2B or B2C. But at Tulip, we love inbound because it's a pull strategy. People are raising their hand saying, listen, I have this problem. Your marketing agency solves it. Help me out here. Where we were spending so much money and why our cost of acquisition was up was an outbound strategy. We were doing cold calls. We were doing trade shows. And we were calling people that didn't want to do a print magazine, didn't want to help with their PPC. So our strategy was falling flat. Now, at Tulip, we're big fans of inbound, of course, like you were saying, but we also love strategic outbound. So whenever we get a client in, for example, association or a member who are a member of an association, we'll go after that whole association because we're like, this one member of your association's had great success with us. You should join us too.
Mhm.
So that's our strategic outbound strategy. I think outbound has definitely a role to play in every single business, but I think it just depends on your business which one you're going to find is the most successful.
Yeah, kind of just got to find what resonates. That's awesome. Um, so I guess in general, does this apply to every type of business out there, or is this like it doesn't apply to restaurants? Maybe like are there certain maybe segments or industries where you're feeling like maybe some of these strategies just aren't gonna they aren't gonna be the same. They aren't gonna hit the same.
They're definitely not going to hit the same. I mean, at Tulip, we work with various industries. We have fire truck manufacturers, we have jewelry, we have pallet associations. Like we have various different industries, and they both use inbound and outbound. And I think when it comes time to create your marketing strategy, it's figuring out where they are in the buyer's journey. So are you trying to do a brand awareness campaign? Maybe that's print. Are you trying and you're sending to outbound potentials? Are you trying to pull in people through Google? That's an inbound strategy through PPC or paid per click advertising. So I think it's dependent on what your goal is and where you're trying to hit them in the buyer's journey.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, great. Well, I will say one of the things that I was really interested by is like, that lead qualification is one of those things that, oh my gosh, I love, figuring this out, like, with potential clients and stuff. And this can be super challenging.
Mhm.
But you want to weed out junk. You don't want to weed out qualified people. And I know that, there's a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, make the form as short as possible. You want to just like, sort of like make it a good funnel so that you aren't turning people away. But, like, do you qualify, based on just the information provided? Is there, some sort of like, a price range that you feel like it's good to qualify for, within? Or is there another factor that you feel like helps qualify those leads as kind of like a sure-proof way of getting out some of the junk?
So we've run into this all the time, Brett. Like you said, this is something that happens to, I think, every business. You're going to get leads that just don't fit you at the end of the day, or you don't fit them. They didn't read everything on your site. And I think it comes down to good website messaging or good messaging in your marketing. Like I said, it's something that happens to everyone. We've gotten really good at having website messaging that's going to resonate with our core customer. So if you're not our core customer, you're going to be like, you're not for us. I'm not going to go through with contacting you or submitting a form. And we tend to keep away the bad ones. 9 times out of 10, we have a good solid lead, but once in a while you'll get someone who, no matter what you do, they will click on your site, they will fill out that form. And I think it's also having different options on your site too. So we're big believers in having value added content. So they might not be a qualified lead at that point, but they are somebody you can nurture into a qualified lead. So they can hit that download a free PDF or sign up for a free chapter of the book.
Cool. That's awesome. And wow, just walked so well into the next question is that actually one of the pieces of content that I found on your site that was interesting was about, using Chat GPT in your marketing strategy. And so I think that you bring up definitely some really good points within that article. And I think, some of those have been echoed by other people within the industry about, being slightly cautious about, originality for sure. But I think that's where maybe this question is really rooted of that is the hard thing to do is creating that good original content. But what's funny is that like, let's say as a marketing professional, you could be reading 10 other blogs and parroting, 10 other, articles that you wrote, thereby not really creating something original, but by, sort of regurgitating. And then also, I think by using Chat GPT, as you mentioned in the article, you could be kind of like putting out just the same stuff that always has been put out because the algorithm learned on basically, all the other content that existed before. So is there any, strategy you have for like really producing that original content?
Yeah, and when we wrote that article, I think that was a year ago, and chat and even AI has evolved so much since then. And I think the stance that I always have on it is use AI as your assistant. If there's nothing worse than looking at a blank piece of paper at the end of the day, trying to write something, use it as your assistant. Help it prompt you into your creative realm. So we're a big advocate in using it as an assistant for chat, especially for writing content. Like you said, what's missing from chat is other people can do the exact same prompt as you. It's missing emotions because, I mean, it's a robot at the end of the day. And it's missing case studies, something that's going to resonate with people. So when you're writing content and you're looking for topics, interview your own clients. Look at your frequently asked questions. That's something we did at Tulip. We sat down and said, what are the 52 questions people are always asking us? And those were our topics for a week for the whole year.
Mhm.
And that's how we prompted it. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, AI is fine, but use it as assistant. Don't use it as your end all final draft because it's not going to be optimized for SEO. It's just not going to be meaty enough to get the results you're looking for.
Definitely. Wow. I have to say, preach when it comes to the FAQs, because that is one thing that I feel like is like, it's a tactic that's been around for like, a long time, but it's so funny how like simple but effective it is. Answer the questions that come in, and it's like, people will probably have the same questions, and it's really just great to leverage that, not only for its potential to be schema markup and and to have all the relevance in potential search results, but it's really just that it's a good thing for user experiences. If a user can kind of figure out something on their own, and they can take that time off of like internal people, or like answer their own question, it can just streamline the process and make it so much better. So I really appreciate you saying that. um well, I noticed that you have a compelling statement in your topics that you like to cover why reasons why print is still relevant. And it's funny, I was like, I don't think that's very controversial, but it's so accurate. It's like, it shouldn't be controversial because I know everybody leans on digital now, but at the same time, like, I have a friend who has a digital slash printing business, and his printing side of the business is just overwhelmingly busy, and it's just absolutely cranking out stuff. And that means that it's still very viable. But why do you think maybe print is still important? And why is it in what type of business maybe is it really relevant for still?
Well, I think at the end of the day, Brett, you look at it and it's your emptiest inbox is your physical mailbox outside. So when people are trying to cut through the noise, think of all the emails you get every day and how many you delete because they're just soliciting you. When you're trying to cut through the noise, print has that credibility and that tangibility and longevity that brands are looking for. That's why Costco still does print. That's why I think it's Simple just came out with their newspaper. Forbes still does their print issue because there's a tangibility and credibility that comes along with it. And I think AI actually helped print significantly, which is why your friend is probably so busy because so many people are regurgitating content right now that people don't know what is factual online. They don't know what's actually credible online. So print does bring that to the table that they're looking for.
That's really cool. That's a good point. It's like, it's the medium outside of the noise that, theoretically, even though it's kind of like one of those things that you're like, oh my gosh, your actual box full of like mail used to be flooded with like this
Mhm.
offer and that offer and that offer, it's nothing compared to what's in your email inbox. Like now, yeah, I think I probably delete at least 80% of what I get. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, I think I just got a postcard from a real estate agent soliciting it. I think it had a recipe on it and it was also like looking to get a quote on your house. Like I looked at that. I did not look at any emails that I got today that went into my promotional tab, but I looked at that one postcard that came into my inbox.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Funny you say that. I'm not even kidding. I wasn't prepared for this at all. This is like my friend. She's a real estate agent, Angie Maniscalco. She actually literally sent me a magnet in the mail, and it's got like, how to build community. And it's just like a nice, but it's also a magnet too. And
Yeah.
it's so funny. It's like, it doesn't take much. And then that can really help you stand out and yeah, and definitely have that permanence and stuff too.
Yeah, and that's why at Tulip we do digital, of course, like your friend, but we also focus on custom magazines and newsletter publishing for our clients. So that fire truck manufacturer, he sends a fire truck newsletter to fire chiefs all over Canada. And that works for him. He's selling $1 million trucks, and that works for him selling those trucks through that medium.
That's awesome. That is great. Yeah, and especially for those high dollar figure, sort of items,
Yeah.
that piece of like, tangible, like a glossy print, like nice things can be like, oh, cool. It
Yeah.
makes it seem interesting and neat. Well, cool. So I guess it's mentioned, not only in your book, but in your topics of finding your core customer, and sometimes companies are like defining their ICP, which I only think of as insane clown posse, and that is definitely not the thing that you should be thinking of with ICP, because it's your ideal client profile. But I can't help think that when I see that acronym. So it seems to be done in like broad strokes around like revenue, like, oh, we're mid-sized companies and it's 10 to $100 million or something, and then maybe around industry of like, oh, we're gonna target these industries. But are there better ways to target your core customer than just those sort of broad brush strokes?
Absolutely, because I think, like you were just saying, like demographics are so broad and ambiguous. I mean, look at, I don't know if you've ever seen this or listeners have ever seen this, but Ozzy Osbourne and Prince Charles has the same demographics. They're both from the UK. They've both been married the same amount of time. They're both born the same year, but they're completely different personalities and people. So you need to look beyond the demographics. I think it could be a foundation looking at psychographics, but you need to look beyond demographics. And one of the ways we do that with website messaging at Tulip for ourselves and our client partners is we look at the pain points of our visitors on our website. So what issues are your customers having that are bringing them to your site? For example, at Tulip, ours is half the time is they're stuck in their marketing, they don't know what to do, or they're looking to be more credible and stand out from their crowd. So that's where our print and marketing services come in. And I think agitating those pain points really resonates with your core customers. And that's where you're getting those conversion rates to go up.
Awesome. Yeah, that you sort of understand that about your potential client. You can touch on that touch point, the struggles associated with it, and you can really help them solve it at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's great. So, I guess I'm glad you touched on the psychographic factors, and I want to jump into the next thing, which is like you were on the Customer Service Academy podcast. I hope I'm getting that right. And then and you were on there recently, and are very focused on sort of like like gaining and retaining clients, which I know that might have been part of the a big part of the discussion. Churn, every agency owner knows is theoretically, and I'll say theoretically so that nobody expects like 99% churn. That's not right. You're doing something wrong then. But everybody should expect, churn as a national or a natural progression of their business. But, where should you put the weight? Is it in, this new business development? Is it on maximizing growth with those like current clients? Is there a focus based on trying to be, the customer advocate that should outweigh, like those new business outreach efforts? Or is there a balance you can really cite?
I honestly, my perspective on that is it's equal, because if you're losing clients, you need to gain two more to even grow your business. So that one client is very important because they can be your biggest advocate. They can be your biggest influencer. Um, and having that retention strategy and making sure that you're keeping your customers happy, you're checking in with them. And that can be difficult for different businesses, but at Tulip, that's something we very much believe in. We want to make sure our clients know the upfront contract of this is what you're getting with your program. This is what you're getting for your services. So when they get it, they're happy, they're ecstatic. And that's why I think it's equal, because you can't grow your business if you're constantly losing people.
Oh, I'm so glad you touched on that, which is like, kind of just setting those expectations with your clients. If there's a misalignment, then it's really easy to, be out of sync and potentially lose that client. But yeah, as long as you set those expectations and they're clear up front, then, it makes the chance for success better. So I'm really glad you said that. Well, cool. And I've got one last question for you, and hopefully it's a fun one. But yeah, do you ever use? I saw that you did fencing, which was cool. And do you ever use fencing puns when you chat with your clients, or is that just something that now you leave in the past?
Um, most clients don't know that I used to be a professional fencer. So I don't typically talk about it. Though once in a while they'll be like, "What do you mean you did fencing?" I'm like sword fighting, like in the Olympics." But no, it doesn't typically come up. I don't have any punny things that I can say about it. Um, it's kind of a stab, and no, I'm not even gonna,
Ah,
not even gonna try. No, it doesn't typically come up, Brett. They don't usually know that fun fact about me.
yeah. Oh wow, you don't find yourself on guard about it?
Haha.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, I had to. That was a bad pun section of the show.
I'm impressed you knew that, so that's good.
Thank you. Deep diving on LinkedIn profiles is pure joy. So I really appreciate all of your answers and your insight. This has been awesome. So seriously, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. Yeah, is there anything else you want to shout out?
Just that always keep in mind your content, have valuable content, look at who your core customer is, where they are online or offline if you're doing print, and always keep your messaging simple at the end of the day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it, Jessica. Thank you so much for being here, and definitely, I'll keep a lookout for that book, and got to read it in depth. I mean, like that sounds amazing. And by the way, also congrats again on being a best-selling Amazon author. That's amazing.
Thank you so much, Brett.
Awesome. Well, this has been another episode of Mix and Matchbox. I'm your host, Brent Feldman. We will be back soon with more content. Please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.